had a conversation with my brother. And at the time, he was working for a large commercial painting contractor. He's a great person. He's a great painter. He was with this company for a while, and he was having a conversation with the owner, and he said, hey, I want more responsibility. I want to learn some other things. I want to be more involved. I want to do more stuff. And the owner just looked at him dead in the face and said, hey, Tom, you're just a painter. When he told me that story, like, I don't know, man, the hair stood up my arms. I was like, you're not, you're more than that.
So much more.
Yeah. A couple months later, it's Brothers and Brushes Painting. So for like 3 to 4 months, it was Tommy and I. Brought on a sub to do all of our exterior work. Tommy and I were still doing a bit of the interior stuff, decks, and then the subcontractor was doing our full exterior stuff. And that was basically through the year last year. And I think we were just shy of like 300 for the year.
Hey guys, it's Casey here with Painting Business Pro. On this week's episode of the PBP Show, I'm talking to Shawn Peckham of Brothers and Brushes Painting. We go through their entire journey. Shawn has a background in painting, how he left painting, started it, got back into it, started his own painting company, what those first few months look like, what it looked like for him to quit his full-time job and go all in, have his brother quit his full-time job and go all in, how they got off the brushes, how they got subcontractors, their marketing. We cover all sorts of things today. So if you're at home working a full-time job, thinking about starting a painting company, this is a podcast you don't want to listen. Shawn's got tons of golden nuggets for you. Enjoy. All right. Shawn, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing well, Casey. How are you?
I'm doing very well, dude. Very well. Great to have you on here. Why don't we kick things off, Shawn? Why don't you tell everyone at home listening here on the PVP show a little bit about you, where you're from, what your company is. Let's start there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my name is Shawn Peckham. 36, from Connecticut, Litchfield County, Connecticut. And my PBP journey started roughly 2 years ago. I think last February I joined the accelerator program. Found the program through Facebook, just kind of scrolling around, and it just resonated with me pretty quickly. My background, my first job ever was painting. I painted with my uncle.
Okay.
He was like a handyman. He did a whole bunch of stuff, but he didn't like the painting portion of it, so he would just pawn that off on my brother and I. So we got to do. That's really where I learned like the trade, the skill of painting, and that was probably 2006, 2007, and and that's been with me. That skill, that trade has been with me ever since. Obviously I've had a bunch of jobs. I kind of bounced around a bit up until this point, just trying to figure out what I want to do, but always painted on the side. It was always there. I always had it in my back pocket. Did a lot of side work, extra cash, it was all cash stuff. But that's really how I got into, painting,
Cool.
What that industry was like.
Okay. Tell me a bit about that kind of bounce around part. I think we hear a lot of people like that come from a painting background and maybe doing it a long time, so long they maybe don't enjoy the painting side, but they're kind of stuck there. Then they go try some other things and then they come back to painting. Walk me through like your side of things. What was that bounce around back? And then ultimately what pulled you back to painting?
Great question. And really it was like exactly what you said, Casey. It was, I was doing so much of it that I got burnt out from it. I didn't want anything to do with it anymore. And the bouncing around was, graduated high school, went to college, community college for about 2 years, and just didn't find a footing. Nothing interests me. And I needed to start paying bills. I had rent and I was already living on my own, and I felt the squeeze pretty quick. So I just wanted to go hit the job market and start working. No idea what I wanted to do. But a lot of blue collar stuff, physical labor, something I could just get in, start making money. But the bouncing around was just really trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I did everything from short order cook to construction. I did IT for a while.
Wow.
Just a very wide gambit of things, and it was. But what it gave me was perspective, a big perspective of that. It's a big, big world. There's a lot of different opportunities out there, a lot of things that you can do. I was just trying to figure it out, I essentially, one job at a time,
Yeah.
every single job that I had, you know, I learned something.
Hmm.
I established, good relationships with the people I worked with, bosses, customers, always left on good terms. It was always on my terms,
Okay.
again, trying to find it, man. What do I want to do?
Yeah.
Um, and, but always leveling up, it was always
Okay.
something. Very rarely was it like lateral or I just went to a side job, it was, always
Right.
want to either, it was mainly money too. Like
Hmm.
I need to go make more money. So I'd
Sure.
like acquire like a small skill set, learn a little bit of stuff, and then go apply for a job that maybe wasn't necessarily
Sure.
qualified for. But
Yeah.
another thing is like I got really good at interviewing, which
Okay.
has now helped me with like sales because it's almost the same thing. I kind of
Yeah.
look at it as the same thing. It's
Start
almost
talking to
like
people.
that's it. Kind of like what we're doing now, just having
Yeah.
conversations, asking questions. Um,
Exactly.
and that was, it was like the butt of the joke of my family. It was like, oh, what are you
Yeah.
doing this week? What are you doing? It's like, oh, you still
Yeah.
got the same job. And like, it started to be funny, and then like, I'd be told like a rolling stone gathers no moss, and that's true. But at the same time, I was like, every job I had, it wasn't it. It didn't feel right. Whether it was
Mm.
the company culture, the job itself, what I was doing, where I saw myself, my future. Um, so that just, it's like, just go find another job, find something till it sticks. I find an interest in something, um, and ultimately, painting came full circle for me. I did not. Painting was the last thing. I did not want to go back to it, and a lot of that too was probably from working with my uncle. He was, and what I saw, what I thought the painting industry was. He was a small company, did everything himself, worked a ton, never really got ahead. It was status quo. He was able to support himself and his family, but never was really ahead of the game. Um, so that was a big turnoff for me. I was like, I don't want that. I don't want that life. And growing up, a big thing for that I was always taught was like get a good job.
Yeah.
Get good benefits, something with retirement and
Totally.
pay time off and all this other stuff. Like a big thing around here was get a town job or a municipal job,
Yeah.
where you're not killing yourself. And I was like, okay, so what do I need to do to that? I got my CDL. Go and got my CDL. Started applying for all these jobs. I got the job that everyone said to get. I was working for a local town here, and I was there for about 5 years and was miserable.
Yeah.
Absolutely miserable. I was like, man, if this is what it is, I don't want it. I'm working with guys that have been there for 20 plus years. They're
Mm.
miserable. They're
Yeah.
only hanging on for the pension, the
Yep.
benefits.
Yep.
And it's like, if that's what it is, I'm good. I'll go find something,
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. You said you're 36, yeah? 80, 88, 89?
88.
All right, I'm an 88 boy too. This must be something about us, man. We like to go
Yeah.
against the grain. We like to kind of do things our own way.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's cool. Okay. So you got back into the painting business. Talk to me about some of those early days. So, you went and did a bunch of things. You came back like reluctant, but you started a painting company. So kind of like up to the point where, we got introduced and you started, looking into getting some support and kind of taking the business to the next level. Walk me through those early days. What did that look like? What were some challenges you faced? What was not what you thought it would be? Kind of just talk to me about that experience, early days.
Yeah. I didn't start the business until I joined PVP.
Right.
I joined PVP, started the business. That business checklist, as simple as it was extremely helpful for me. I
Okay.
didn't know where to start. I was like, how do
Gotcha.
you even register an LLC? How do you do that?
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
you know, um, that's really where it was. I didn't even know how to start a business, didn't know how to run it. I knew how to
Okay.
paint, but it's like, I would hear that a lot too. You'd be a good painter, like, oh, you should start your own company. It's like, yeah, but I don't really know how to run a business. I know how to
Hmm.
paint, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be a good business owner.
Yep.
Um, and that, business I've always been interested in it. What
Hmm.
makes someone successful, what makes a company successful. Um, So that was more interesting to me than painting itself.
Right.
I just knew that I had that skill set in my back pocket already, that I didn't have to learn
Okay.
something completely new.
Okay.
I already had some generalized, specialized knowledge,
Okay.
for that industry. Um, so at the beginning, having a conversation with Doug, joining the accelerator program, and getting that ball rolling, like that's where it started for me. You know,
Okay.
in those early, last year, so February, I joined, started the business. We probably didn't started marketing in, what is it, March.
Mm-hmm.
Was still working full time, so
Yep.
started the business, worked full time.
Okay.
Um, Started doing some marketing, got a couple phone calls, reached out to a few people that I did jobs for in the past, let them know
Yep.
I started the company.
Okay.
So just, pre-booked April, basically. I filled out April for production.
Okay.
And then once I made that like as a goal of mine, I said, if I can fill, production calendar for the month of April,
Mm-hmm.
I'll leave my job. I'll just go
Okay.
to producing these jobs.
Cool.
And that's what I did. Had a conversation with my brother. It's Brothers and Brushes Painting. That
Yep.
is true to the name. It's my older brother Tommy and I. And at the time, he was working for a large commercial painting contractor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's funny. I should mention this too, because really, I guess really what lit fire under my butt was I was having a conversation with Tommy, and he's a great person. He's a great painter. He means, like, his heart is in everything that he does. He was with this company for a while, and he was having a conversation with the owner, and he said, hey, I want more responsibility. I want to learn some other things. I want to be more involved. I want to do more stuff. And the owner just looked at him dead in the face and said, hey, Tom, you're just a painter. And, when he told me that story, like, I don't know, man, the hair stood up
Yeah.
on my arms. I was like, you're
Yeah.
not, you're
You're
more than
so
that,
much more.
you
So
know?
good, man. I love that.
And yeah, that's really, I was like, dude, we're doing this, I was like, if you're willing to have faith in me
Yep.
and jump on board with me, dude, let's rip this thing. Let's see what
Yep.
happens. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you can go back to painting. I can go find a job. I'm pretty good at it. So it's
Yeah.
like, you know,
Yeah.
in my eyes, I had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
My personal life was squared away. My personal finances were squared away.
Yep.
A big thing for me too was my wife's support.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, all these jobs and all these things I went through trying to figure out what I want to do. I was with my wife the entire time. We've been together for 18 years. We've been married for
Wow.
10,
So good.
basically right out of high school. And,
Yeah.
everything that I do, I have a conversation with her, and she's so supportive. Like, she helps me with the business now. She does, a lot of the QuickBooks stuff.
Right. Amazing.
Um, yeah, she's super smart, super supportive. I don't think I probably would have done a lot of the stuff I did, or maybe even started the business if I didn't have her full support.
Right. Right.
So that makes things, way easier when you have a supportive partner.
Yeah.
In a little network that that they have your back, you have your back. Um,
Totally.
And it makes that transition a bit easier, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So cool, man. I love that. And I love that you shared that story with Tommy, because that's really powerful. And that definitely hit me. That's for sure. Just hearing that, I can only imagine what that feels like. But then to hear your brother have that response of like, no way, dude, you're so much more than that. Like that's so powerful. I love
Right.
that, dude. Um, there's a lot of folks out there, Shawn, who are in a very similar position as you were, where they're, working a full-time job, trying to start a part-time business, or have ambitious goals like you, like book out a month and then I'm ready to dive in and bet it all on myself. What were some of the what were some of the main things that you focused on early days that kind of helped you on track to book out April like you did? Because it's not a lot of time from January. It's 3 months while working a full-time job to book out April and then have the confidence to quit. That's a huge accomplishment. And I think a lot of people out there would aspire to do that and want to do that. What did you focus on in those 3 months? How did you keep yourself dialed in with everything going on?
Oh, man, that's such a good question. um, I just knew that that where I currently was, ultimately, it wasn't fulfilling. I just wasn't happy doing it, and it's
Yeah.
not, and I didn't, you don't know. It's not like, oh, starting a business, I'm going to be so much happier and feel fulfilled. And I knew it was going to be different than the situation I was currently in.
Right.
And I had a really good job. I
Mm-hmm.
was
Mm-hmm.
making $45 an hour, like,
Mm-hmm.
bunch of overtime. Like, money was not the issue,
Right.
and when that reality sunk in, where I was like, okay, this is the money I'm making right now is enough money to live fine
Yep.
and get through life just fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then when that hit me, where I was like, okay, well, it's not a money thing because it still doesn't feel right to me.
Great.
And then I started exploring starting the company. Um, yeah, sorry, kind of went off tangent where I was going with that.
No, you're good. Started the company, and then kind of like, what were the things you focused on as you got kicked off to kind of get to that goal that you set there in April?
Following that checklist, like I said, that simple checklist was just like, check this off, check this off, check this off. Keep track, just starting to keep track of stuff. And joining the accelerator program, I didn't feel like I was ready to join that. Again, that was at the time, it was, $500 a month that was just going to be an expense that I had to start eating. So, um, and then all those other things you think about when you're working for someone else, where it's like you don't own all of the responsibility. You have the 401k, you have the retirement, the benefits, the insurance, all that stuff. I never thought about that to keep me like that wasn't a good enough reason to keep me where I was at. Um, it was more of just the challenge. I think it's like I wanted to challenge myself, and it's like I thought about it for so long about starting a company, um, and was just afraid to do it. I had these like fears that were probably not real, that were made up in my head. um, and again, it was like I have nothing to lose. Like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Like, it doesn't work out. Like, hey, that's okay. Like, at least I tried. Um, but what I can say too is once I started trying and working toward that goal, it's like things just started to kind of fall in place, like
Mm.
osmosis. Like, I was just because I was making the effort to try, I was being
Yeah.
rewarded for that. You
You're
know,
doing things. Yeah.
yeah, just action, just start.
So good.
Super, and just keeping it as simple as possible, not
Okay.
overcomplicating it. I didn't. You know, I started the my website,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily how I want it to look, what I want it to be, but like I got it going, I fired it up,
Yep.
and started that ball rolling. From like a social media standpoint, I could have jumped on a bunch of stuff. I was like, I'm just going to do a Facebook page, a business Facebook page,
Yep.
and start posting there. I didn't even have anything to post. I was just like reposting stuff from, Benjamin Moore and Sherwin Williams
Yep.
and different
Yep.
related stuff just to get it rolling. That's what the really early stuff looked like. And again, I did have the support of my brother as well. So,
Yep.
um,
Yep.
he was there right along with me.
Cool.
So,
Nice. Okay. So I'm hearing a lot of confidence, like self-confidence, really good support, and then really just doing things, right? Following the system, following the steps. How'd you get some of those first jobs, man? Like to sell out April again is a huge accomplishment. The first job, second job, how do we get them? What did we do to actually get those leads and do those estimates, close those sales?
the very first job was actually a referral. That was a
Okay.
referral from a childhood friend of mine that knew
Cool.
again, I always painted on the side. I got
Yep.
away from it,
Yep.
came back to it. And then I reached out to everybody in my contacts in my phone. Every
Nice.
single person. I said, hey, and I just made a generic text message and I sent it to
Mm-hmm.
everybody, let them know I started the company. And through that, um, the first one was a referral. I went out,
Yep.
did the estimate, was super nervous. Like,
Yep.
I remember like
Yeah.
holding my pad and I was just like shaking because I was just nervous to do it. And
Yeah.
I knew what I was talking about, but I wasn't used to being in someone's home. And like, before I was like, yeah, time material, like, yeah, we'll get it done and see you later. And now it's like I'm creating an estimate, measuring stuff, and
Yeah.
like trying to be like professional about it.
Yep.
but I got that first job,
There
and
you
it
go.
was like $2,300. It was a living room, ceiling, walls, some trim, nothing crazy, but it
Hmm.
was like immediate, and I got good feedback. I started with Paint Scout, got that squared away.
Cool.
Um, I had really good feedback on the presentation and the conversation I had, and I did a
Yep.
little color consultation with the customer. We picked out some colors. Um, the next job after that, again, was someone that I had reached out to and told them I started the business, and they said, "Hey, would
Hmm.
love to have you come over and take a look at, a bunch of interior work we need done."
Yep.
This was in the cold weather season, so it was interior stuff I was looking at.
Yep.
Um, got that one, so it was like,
Nice. Nice. Two for
yeah,
two.
yeah, it was like, oh, all right, well, it's, but that was a huge confidence booster,
Totally.
um,
Yeah.
just taking the action to do it, building a little bit of confidence, and then, going to work every day, coming home, and just getting back to it, hitting it again,
Yep.
going back through, during work, I'd put an earbud in and I'd listen to
Yep.
the accelerator program, video by video by video by video.
Yep.
And it's not like you can't absorb all of that information. So it's like
Sure.
you take a little bit from this video, a little bit from that video,
Yep.
and apply it. Um, it's not perfect. It's like, dude, I
Hmm.
really don't know. Like you're just so like, I have no idea. It's like, but I gotta,
Yep.
I gotta throw it out there. Um, so doing that, and then like, even creating, a Google account, never done that before. So it's like, and then creating the production calendar and doing all
Yep.
that. And it's like starting to lay that stuff out, be strategic about it.
Hmm.
And another part of that, why I wanted to book that month out, is because I was asking my brother to leave his job so that we can start
Nice.
this company,
Nice.
So,
Okay.
um, he was like, where are we? Where are we if I'm leaving? So, it gave him, and at the same time we had to buy, I bought like this little jalopy van for like $4,000,
Nice.
minivan, like
Yep. Yep.
took all the seats out of it and threw all of our painting stuff in there. Got to get, it's not what I wanted. I'd like a nice looking van, nice
Hmm.
cargo van. We couldn't even throw ladders on the top of this thing.
Right.
So it's like, but we just started, just
Yeah.
start. Um, and that's, that was just over a year ago. That wasn't
Crazy.
too long ago.
Crazy, man.
If you're listening to the podcast, almost every single person that we talk to on this show is someone that we have worked with at Painting Business Pro. If you run a painting company or you're starting a painting company and you are really serious about building an amazing business while having a great lifestyle along the way, that is what we do best. When you work with us, you'll plug in to all of the systems, playbooks, training, and get coaching from me and my team. That's the training, systems, playbooks, and team that runs our currently $40 million portfolio of painting companies. It's the stuff that's working right now. We're actually doing this stuff day in and day out, and we love coaching people and helping people grow. So if you're interested in getting some help and working with us, head over to paintingbusinesspro.com and apply now, and we look forward to talking with you soon.
So we'll get to where you are today, because you are absolutely crushing it, and I want to chat a little bit more about where the business is today. But after that first month, let's keep going here a little, because you got me on this story. I'm very captivated, so I hope everybody else is. When did it hit? So you booked out April, you jumped in, Tommy jumped in. We're ready to go. We're trusting each other. We're believing each other. We're taking steps. When did it click for you as like, this is real? This is working. Like,
Mm,
it's happening now.
hmm Probably June.
Okay, so a
April was
couple
booked. We
months
kept,
later.
yeah, a couple months later. Again, at the beginning, Tommy and I were producing the jobs. We were the ones painting. I knew
Mm-hmm.
that's not what I wanted to do, but I
Mm-hmm.
felt that's just where we were at the time. It's like that's what I had to jump in and do.
Yep.
But knowing long term, like both of us, we don't want to paint,
Yep. Yep.
but didn't know how to get there.
Yep.
So those first few months on the job painting, doing the same thing, coming home at night, answering the phone, setting appointments, producing them, asking for the reviews, and just
Mm-hmm.
getting like a lot of positive feedback from our customers.
Yeah.
Just simple stuff. Love the name, love the logo. You guys did a great job painting.
Yeah.
You just all that little stuff. So June came around. It was like, then we started to get like pretty busy. We
Okay.
started picking up, I was dialing in the estimating process, doing a lot of exterior estimates, booking those. And like I said, when you're booking a full exterior and it's like, I can't even get ladders on this van. It's like, we need to figure this out. We need to find people that can produce these jobs. And that's, starting to dig into like the subcontractor model, excuse me, which honestly, Casey, I didn't even know what that really was. I didn't know that was a thing. I did not know that was a thing. I thought if you're a if you owned a painting company, you were the guy doing everything. You were marketing, selling, producing. That was owning a painting company. I had no idea that you could sub this work out. So learning that process and then, doing the interviewing, just everything's a massive learning curve. But again, that osmosis thing where it's like, I feel like if I'm making effort to move in a direction that I want to move in, I'll be rewarded for it. And the first sub that I interviewed ended up being a great sub. Young kid, my exact age, was painting for 10 years. And his model was subbing out, so he took all of our full exteriors. He started producing, which again, going through that first process, like, I'm glad I have a decent poker face because, doing those job site walkthroughs, setting the job up with a sub and trying not to, set any red flags to the customer that, hey, this is like my
A
first job
sub.
subbing out.
Yeah.
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 You know, um, if someone asked me, of course I would be transparent and tell them, yes, this is a subcontractor, but, um, familiarizing myself with that process and getting comfortable with it was a big, that took months, but he did a great job. The customer was super happy. We did our pre-job, we did our post-job. I was checking in daily and getting used to what that looks like. While at the same time, Tommy's still producing jobs. I'm helping him when I can, but mainly it was just like him doing all of our interior work. So 1 to 2 guys doing the interior, started subbing exterior work. And then mainly for our first year, that's kind of how it was. So for like 3 to 4 months, it was Tommy and I brought on a sub to do all of our exterior work. Tommy and I were still doing a bit of the interior stuff, decks, and then the subcontractor was doing our full exterior stuff. And that was basically through the year last year. And I think we were just shy of like 300 for the year. So
Amazing. In your first year. That's fantastic, man. And you managed to get off the tools in that first year as well.
right,
So good.
exactly.
So good. So when you came in, you mentioned at the beginning here, you worked with your uncle for a long time, and that was like his MO of just like get the job, paint, and that was what he did for forever. That's what you knew. You didn't know this was the submodel. What were the
Mhm.
expectations when you got into the program, and when you did you just think you were just going to paint forever, and when you found out about this, like walk me through that. When did you find out that the submodel existed? When did it make sense for you to start learning about it, and what was that process of learning? Because you said it took you months of learning and learning. Like, what did you do to actually learn that? To walk me through some of that.
The program.
Okay. Okay.
Honestly, when it came through, when I first saw the ad for the program from Eric, it was, I think it was how to build $1 million painting company, right? And I'm like, what? Like, dude, like, one crew is not going to produce $1 million worth of business. Like, so how are you doing that? And that crew being us, being, hypothetically, say it was me, Tommy, and one other person. It's like you can't possibly do that on your own. So it was just a curiosity thing of like, well, how are they doing that? How big is the painting company? They must have an insane amount of crews. But digging in and starting to go through the program and learning the subcontractor model, and like very uncomfortable at the beginning. I didn't even like it. I didn't even like the thought of that. But the things are in the program so that it's like, if you follow it and you have trust and faith that it's going to work, and trust and faith in the people that you're interviewing, like, the people that you're working with, it's still a little bit uncomfortable, but it's just like having the faith to just say, trust this model. It obviously is working for a lot of people out there. It's proven. Um, Obviously, what we're doing right now, it's not perfect, it's not totally dialed in, but it's like you'll get there, you know. But having the patience too. Like I know, it's like like know yourself too. You know, I know it inherently takes me a long time to learn a new skill set. Some people are really quick about learning stuff and implementing it really quickly. Like I know I'm not like that, you know. So I know it's going to take me a little bit longer than you know other people, you know. Um, so just having patience with it, and to keep trying, just keep trying it, and that's where we are now, you know.
For anybody at home, in Shawn's spot, I mean, you heard it here from Shawn directly. Like, there are good subcontractors out there, and it is very possible to build that out because it's a common thing that a lot of people face. Is just either not knowing that model exists and just that trust, like you said, right? And so, really leaning into the commitment is what I'm hearing of like, this is what I want to do. I'm committed to it. I'm going to follow the right process. I'm committed to that. And you do that, the output is you'll attract the right people. You'll end up getting the right support. That's amazing. So good. Love that, Shawn. So 300K first year, you're coming off the tools. Tell me about how 2025 kicked off, and then let's get into like where we are here because like I said, you guys you're not letting up. You're just growing and crushing it. So tell me about what you did after that first year. Or where'd you focus your energy? Like, you're off the tools now. So how did your day to day look different? What did you focus on? Did the goals change? How did you approach 2025 off the tools?
That took a bit of an adjustment too, just to you're getting your time back, and it's like, wow, I'm not on the job 8 hours a day or 10, 12 hours a day. And then when you're back in the office or at home, it's like, okay, what am I filling my day with?
Mm-hmm.
So when I came off the brush, I went into like a very support role for Tommy.
Okay.
Um, we did at the end of last year, we did hire a helper for him, which we have since like kaput that.
Okay.
Tommy's off the brush. I mean, we can get there too, but
Nice. Nice.
so the end of the year was like, wow, we got through it. That's kind of what it looked like. Ups, downs,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it was. And then when I would probably say we were probably busy through December, January, February got slow. Um, and then it just went back into like the program again, like
Yep.
watching it again. And I remember too, watching some of those videos, Eric's like, if you do nothing else, it's, fill out your business plan. And it's like, okay, so
Mm-hmm.
all I'm going to do is like, at the very minimum, fill the business plan out. Cause it's
Yep.
going to give you insight to next year and goal setting and, building out your business plan. Um, so that's kind of where the focus shifted.
Mm-hmm.
And then a big goal this year was to get, Tommy off the brush too.
Right.
Um, so that was the focus. It's like, how do we get there? How do we do that? Um,
Okay.
and at the beginning of 2025, we were still producing some jobs ourselves. We had
Mm-hmm.
a hiccup with interior.
Mm-hmm.
If I was finding good subs for exterior, but we do a fair amount of interior work.
Sure.
So there were challenges just fine. I think that's a different animal almost.
Sure.
So finding good subcontractors for interior work was a challenge, but
Mm-hmm.
not something that's like impossible. So
Yep.
2 months ago, we found a really good interior subcontractor,
Nice.
um, and that's all they do. He's like, I don't do exterior stuff. I don't do commercial work. It's like I do residential interiors. Great, because that's what
That's
we're
what I
looking for.
need. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So and it was again just kind of like building, dialing in the estimating, the paint scout. Because it's like I said before, I get very overwhelmed with too much information, and then it's almost like analysis paralysis where I do nothing.
Sure.
So it's like I just take a little bit, try to implement it the best I can. It's not perfect, but we're moving in that direction,
Yep.
and then go back into the videos, pick up a little more, tweak a little here, go back in, tweak it. You know what I mean? It's like
Mm-hmm.
just always tuning it,
Yep.
just always trying to fine tune it,
Yep.
which come to the realization that that is something, like continuing education and constantly fine tuning stuff is like, that's never
Yeah.
going to go away.
Yeah.
Um, get used to it. It's like,
Yeah. Absolutely.
that's part of it, because it's very easy, coming from the W-2 world where you're working for somebody. It's like super easy to turn it off, turn it on,
Hmm.
got to go to work, come home, turn it off. I'm not thinking about that anymore.
Yep.
When you're running a business, it's like, it does turn off, but it doesn't at the same time, I guess.
Sure.
At least
Yeah.
in like the early years. I'm only in year 2. I'm sure people that are more established and been in the industry a lot longer, are in a different spot. But
Yeah.
that's where I'm at currently.
So a lot of like we've touched base on a lot of really great things. Your first year successes, getting off the tools. You guys are growing, but you alluded to the fact that it's not always sunshine and rainbows, and there are ebbs and flows and ups and downs. What are some things you did, Shawn, in those moments of adversity uh, to kind of get through that, to keep yourself focused? What are some things you did, and what's some pointers that you'd give to someone out there that's like starting to grow, seeing some momentum, then you hit a roadblock or you hit a couple roadblocks? Walk me through how you approach that, Shawn.
Yeah, just reminding myself that it's a journey, to have patience with myself, and then looking at past successes that I have had. It's small
Hmm.
stuff, nothing crazy, but and not even necessarily related to running a business or the painting.
Sure.
Stuff that there was a time where I wanted to be a firefighter, so I had to go get my EMT. That was a 9-month process it took me to get it. I failed the written 3 times, but I kept going back fail, go back, study, go back, take the test,
Yeah.
fail, study again, go back, take the test. Like, I just had it in my head that like, I'm not going to fail. I made the commitment to do it. So I'm going to get through the failure and do it. I know it's not something that's permanent. Even now when you have rough days, it's like, I'll jump on a call or I'll go into the group and I'll read some comments and like realize that you're not the only one that's struggling or having a challenge right now. And very rarely is it something that someone else hasn't dealt with. So leaning into that for sure. And having patience with myself, where it's like, if I'm struggling with something, take a step back, take a breather, go do something else. Just realize, like, that, not beating yourself up too
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. So we're here, October 2025. You teased us a little bit earlier and said Tommy's off the brush. So bring us up to speed, man. Like, where are you guys today with the business? Almost 2 years in now. What does it look? What are things looking like for you guys?
Yeah, so probably like a month ago, a month and a half ago, we made a decision to move Tommy to full-time project management role,
Cool.
and that would free me up a lot more to do the marketing, the sales,
Hmm.
admin, that type thing.
Yep.
Um, and plus, just to get, maybe it wasn't the exact right timing to do it.
Sure.
Who knows? But going back to before, knowing that myself, like I said, it takes me a long time to learn something. Tommy's the same exact way, where it's like, we need to be in it
Right.
to learn it.
Yeah.
So in the slow seat, the plan was originally like, okay, when we slow down a bit, transition you over, start going through everything. But
Hmm.
knowing him, it's like, he's gonna have to go through it.
Right.
We can go through the framework together. We can have the
Hmm.
conversation, go through the videos, but we need to do it. We need to go
Okay.
through it. We need to actually do a few jobs. You need to interview subcontractors, that type thing.
Yep.
Um, so that was about a month and a half ago, not too long. So it's pretty fresh.
Cool.
Um, and then, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where we are right now, where it's just, I'm
Cool.
pulling back, but I'm also lending a lot of support to Tommy.
Sure.
It's not like I'm a seasoned veteran with it, so
Sure.
I'm still learning as well. So we're doing it together.
Yep.
We're dialing in what his day to day looks like, because he's
Yep.
not used to that type of work day either.
Yep.
Um, so just starting to get comfortable with, like, the schedule,
Yeah.
your responsibilities,
Yep.
the types of things that you need to be doing, that um, because you can get caught really quick with the time that you get back,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you can really get lost in the sauce real quick, meaning like you have all this time and you're given all this rope and
Nothing gets done.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it's like in
Yep.
you're like, how am I going to fill my day? So it's very much like those conversations. It's, those are daily, you know,
Yep.
but, we implemented like a production review meeting, twice a week, going over the week, what's up
Yep.
for next week. That those things help a ton.
Yeah.
But upgraded the van,
There you
so we're
go.
not
There you
rolling
go.
around in not
Nice.
rolling around in the minivan. But so I mean that's kind of where we are present day.
Okay.
We scaled back a bit. With I feel like once we get this dialed in, the project management role, and I pull a couple levers like the marketing, dial in my sales, like we can really hit the ground running next year to like really do it and not put ourselves in part of it too. Casey was like, I want to do it now. I want to start that process now because I don't want to be in the fire next year where it's like, okay, we were screaming and now we're like, we don't have a good grasp of what we should be doing. It's not, it won't be perfect. It's not going to be tuned in like, a race car, but um, I feel like if we good head start, good jump on it this year, and we'll be ready to really like smash it next year.
Yeah. Sounds like you're getting your approach of like getting ahead of things, taking your time, like giving yourself the time to learn, to process, to execute. Like sounds like that's been a really beneficial thing for you guys. Of like, what's the quote I've heard? It's you got to slow down to hurry up sometimes.
Exactly, and that's like it's difficult to do because I look at companies and they're doing million, two, three, and it's like, man, I really want to get there.
Mm,
And sometimes it's like, okay, but if I'm just rushing, if that's my only focus, then I'm going to forget. I'm not going to build a good foundation, which is also
yeah.
spoken about a lot. Build the
Yeah.
foundation correctly so that when you do push the button, man, it's an elevator. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
ding, going to the top floor. Um,
Yeah.
you're not in the stairs where it's like, man, I'm getting tired.
Totally.
you know.
Totally. Yeah.
Um, so
So how's things looking for you? If you go back to January of last year where you were not fulfilled, not happy, now as a business owner with the ups and the downs and the learning lessons and a ton of wins, what does that part of your life look like now from a happiness, fulfillment standpoint?
it feels fulfilled in the sense that I wanted to challenge myself,
Mm.
and I'm meeting the challenge.
Yep.
And it was kind of funny. I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine who started a roofing, siding, gutter company the same time I started the painting business. He's my age,
Okay.
and we have conversations with one another. And last year we have a conversation about just starting the business, the fear of the
Mm-hmm.
unknown. Just you know, not knowing, not having that security blanket. But it was like kind of like it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
kind of like that's the little fire.
Totally.
Um, you know, Before it's like it was also dealing with boredom. You get bored. It's like
Mm-hmm.
kind of bored. I don't. It's like the day to day, the grind. It's like whatever, and we may get there even doing this. At some
Sure.
point, I'm sure. I'm
Sure.
sure we'll get into the monotony and the kind of the routine of things. But right now, I kind of I'm embracing the uncertainty and the unknown
Nice.
and just that feeling. Kind of makes you feel alive a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So where were you going to finish if you feel comfortable sharing? What do we think will finish up the year? Like you did 300 in the first year. What's year two looking like for you guys?
I mean, I hope to be plus 400.
Nice.
We're on track. We're on track to do that.
Nice.
Um, so it's growth.
Yep.
I at the beginning of the
Absolutely.
year, my goal was 500.
Yep.
But that's a goal, and if we fall a little bit short of it, it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with where we are.
Yep.
I'm happy with where we are. Always, can we be doing better? Yes. Do I want to be doing better? Yes. But like,
Yep.
again, it's like going back before where it's like look at where you are, what you've done
Mm.
2 years ago. 2 years ago, would I've said where I am now? Probably not. You know,
Yeah, running a
probably not.
$400,000 business, not doing any painting, which didn't even know that existed. Like, brothers there with you, your wife supporting you, you got a new van, like tons of great stuff going on.
Right.
Amazing. So what's next? What's on the docket for next year? Where talk to me a bit about the marketing side of stuff. So when you started, you had mentioned the first jobs were word of mouth, referral. You farmed the heck out of your network, so you got out there. Did marketing change this year? Were we generating some jobs elsewise? What did we do on that side this year? And then what's the plan for next year for marketing?
Honestly, Casey, not a whole lot. I
Okay.
didn't. We ran some. Last year we did some Facebook ads. I ran like 2 campaigns,
Yep.
um, and then we just stopped doing it really.
Yep.
But we've had a lot of success with like print marketing. Our
Okay.
local newspaper that covers
Nice.
all of our surrounding towns.
Yep.
We've had a lot of success with that. I think our majority of our demographic is 55 and over,
Mm-hmm.
and they still read the paper.
They
So
sure do.
um, get a ton of calls from that.
Yep.
Um, Doing the lawn signs, job site branding, but also Friday nights, Saturday mornings we're dropping yard signs. That's a big
Mm-hmm.
thing for us. Angie. So we do
Okay.
Angie ads too.
Cool.
Um,
Okay.
which I scaled back a bit by design.
Sure.
Again, shifting Tommy over to the project management roles. Like, let's scale it back a little bit, dial this in, and
Mm-hmm.
then we could scale it back up. So,
Yep.
I'll
Yep.
increase the budget for Angie. Definitely going to get into, the Facebook ads, the meta ads. Um, I think that's the marketing plan, and then just more effort. Yeah, honestly,
Yep. Yep.
increased effort with the stuff that already is working.
Yep. Yep.
So, and in our website SEO is working pretty well. We get a fair amount of
Mm-hmm.
calls from that. I got to do a better job at tracking that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But that's a goal. That's a goal for next year as well.
There we go.
Um, dial in that you move to the mastery program. So,
Mm.
just dialing in that business plan. But
Yeah.
again, not trying to bite it off in one big chunk.
Yep.
Doing
Yep.
doing the stuff that I know and learning a little bit each day.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
And the goal for next year would be to be like completely 100% submodel.
Okay. Cool.
Um, and then hopefully doing, plus 600 for the year.
Nice. I love it. I love how eloquently you talk about like just the basic things. Like, it's not about overcomplicating it. It's about figuring out really who we're trying to serve in the community. They're 55 plus. Well, where are they? Let's go reach them. Let's not overcomplicate this thing. Let's get out. Let's be systematic about our lawn signs. Like, I love that you've got it structured and just simple like that to be able to achieve where you're trying to go. I think that's a big thing a lot of people struggle with, is like, what do I do first? And they feel like it's a lot bigger and complicated than it really is. And it's really not. It's just about the doing is really, really, really hard. But what you got to do isn't that hard, right?
I couldn't agree with you 1,000 times more. I think inherently as humans, we just overcomplicate stuff that probably isn't that complicated.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's a ton of information. I mean, like, especially the world that we live in today, where you're just thrown, stuff is thrown at you all day, every single day.
Yeah.
So it's hard to like keep that stuff, out of your main goal and your main vision and your focus. But just constantly reminding yourself of that, like you said,
Yep.
if
Yep.
it's working, then don't fix it. You can expand
Yep.
on it.
Yep.
And just I just trying to keep it as simple as possible right now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not, just not making it harder than it has to be.
Totally. Totally. If you were to look back at that first year, Shawn, anything you would have done differently at all with the perspective that you have now, if, kind of wrapping up your second year of business, anything in hindsight?
I probably should have done, moved a bit quicker with the submodel, but again, I was uncomfortable with it,
Sure.
so getting over that hump. But just like reaching out and interviewing and starting that, because interviewing people in general, like, I'm not too familiar with doing that.
Yep.
So getting that process going a lot sooner
Yep.
probably would have been beneficial, because we could have broken that off a lot quicker. But
Sure.
if that's a change, I would, if that's something I would have done in hindsight, I would have done it.
Yeah.
But in the moment where I am now, it's like, it's okay.
Yeah. Totally.
It's okay.
Totally. Yeah.
And just disbanding some of those beliefs that you had and being open to learning new stuff that's like, doesn't, just because you can't see it doesn't make it that it's not, it's not like it doesn't work. But
yeah, that's kind of what I was, really trying to get at, or try to learn from you, really, was now that you've done it, and I'm sure there were some things that seemed a lot harder at the time or seemed almost impossible at the time, and then you did it, and it's almost like going on a hike and then you get to the top and the view's like underwhelming. You're like, this is it. I got a bit of that sense, right? Where you kind of do it, you're like, oh, that wasn't that hard. First guy, exterior, I got him and he's awesome. Why was I so scared of this? Right. So cool.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Cool, man. Well, look, we're getting close to the wrap up here. Beginning of the call, I kind of mentioned, the real intention here is to be able to tell your story, and reach anyone that's out there that's kind of going through or is going through what you were a couple of years ago, or throughout your life to got to this point. So like, if there's anything or any advice you could give to someone out there that's working a 9-to-5, that's not fulfilled and thinking about starting something to change their life, what's the advice you would give to them sitting in the position you are now?
I think firstly, dial yourself in, right? Take self inventory. From everything from, financially, emotionally, mentally, your family, all those things are going to impact starting a business and how successful you can be. And obviously, like I said, if I didn't have the support that I originally had, I think that's a big thing for a lot of people with full-time jobs, is that the security of it, where it feels like, okay, like I know I'm going to have this paycheck at the end of the week. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. I don't know exactly where I was going.
Just the advice, if that helps you pick it up, just the advice for anyone that's working a 9-to-5, has that comfort, but isn't really happy and they want to do something. What would you say to them to like get going?
Yeah. I mean, and leaning on a skill set that you have, I think for me,
Yep.
It wasn't something that there's a lot of nuances that I had to learn running the business, but at least I had, and I've always had a bit of difficulty with that. If I don't know necessarily how to do something, I have a tough time like selling it,
Gotcha.
I've had some sales jobs in the past as well. And it was always difficult for me to, if I didn't actually know what I was talking about, to sell it.
Totally.
So to have the skill set was helpful for me. But yeah, just taking I don't know, man. It's a great question, but I think the biggest thing is the self inventory, taking a good look at like where you're currently at. Obviously, if you have a ton of responsibilities, a massive mortgage, 8 kids, it's like, stuff like that. And it's like, I'm just going to rip this thing. It happens.
Proceed
it's like,
with caution. Yeah.
Yeah. You're just, you're making it, then I feel like you are making it difficult. You're just making the battle a little bit harder for yourself. Not to say that like it can't be done. Obviously it can be done, but if you can make it that much easier for yourself, by taking the time to like really assess what it is you want and where you are currently, take the time to do that.
Love it, dude. Absolutely love it.
Hey guys, if you're enjoying the show, it would mean the world to me if you would leave a quick review for the podcast and what you gotten out of it. It helps our show reach more people and inspire more people. Thank you so much.